Thank you for tuning in to the Ultimate Coach podcast, a companion to the transformative book, The Ultimate Coach, written by Amy Hardison and Alan D. Thompson. Each conversation is designed to be a powerful wake-up call, reminding us of what's possible for you and your life. So if you're on a journey to expand your state of being, this podcast is for you.
Welcome to the Ultimate Coach podcast. I am your host, Ipek Williamson, and today we have a truly remarkable guest with us. This beautiful human being is so near and dear to my heart. Olga Campora, PhD. Olga is a transformation coach and the founder of LYTA, Launch Your Third Act, where she helps men overcome physical fatigue, anxiety, and emotional emptiness to rediscover their purpose and create fulfilling lives. Originally from the Czech Republic, Olga earned a PhD in education and has a background as an educator and yoga therapist. She plays a key role in establishing the Czech language program at the Missionary Training Center in Provo, Utah, and is the author of Saint Behind Enemy Lines. Now residing in the United States, she is married to Randy Campora, and they are parents of 2 sons. Olga is passionate about empowering men to leave enduring legacies that impacts their families and the world for generations. Welcome, Olga. It is a pleasure and honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Ipek, my beautiful friend. It's good to be with you and with everyone who is listening.
Thank you. Olga, you have such a rich and diverse background, from growing up in Czechoslovakia to building a thriving career in the US. Can you tell us about the most defining moment of your life that led you on this path?
Thank you. I think that one really of the greatest blessings in my life was having the most amazing cheerleader a kid could ask for. And that was my incredible mom. She was really incredible in her ability to see the greatness in me, and she made sure I knew it. And every time I brought her something that I created, whether it was my, first story, a drawing, or even finishing a task as, the working on a dishes, she would shower me with praise. And I would say that she was the queen of acknowledgement. Always, speaking to my potential and encouraging me to dream my own dreams, not to fulfill hers. And I'm forever grateful, for that. But there is one moment that stands out, really in my memory, Ipek, a moment that truly shaped how I see myself today. It happened in the 1st grade when we were given our report cards. And I still remember the shock and the heartbreak I felt when I saw that I had scored a number 2, which in the American system would be a B. It was one grade that represented everything: reading, writing, speaking, all the things a 1st grader could be measured on. I was absolutely devastated in my mind. I was always an A student, and now this piece of paper was telling me I was something less. I remember I came home from school that day in tears, just, feeling like someone had decided I was not good enough. I was not smart enough. But my mom, in her really infinite wisdom, said something to me that I will never forget. And she told me, Oli, because that was my nickname, no grading number and no person can measure what you truly are capable of and who you are. And I want you to always remember that. And that moment really just changed everything for me. It taught me just kind of, to never let anyone or anything define my worth. And later I just, found out that my grade was not just about my academic performance. It was partially because I behaved like a tomboy. But in a communist country, you never really knew what the rules were or what was the yardstick they were using to measuring you. So that day, my mom gave me a gift greater than any grade I could have. She really helped me to see no system, no number, no person can ever truly define who I am. And we are the only ones who get to do that, right? And that lesson has stayed with me, guiding me through life, always reminding me to trust in my potential, no matter what the world tries to, tell me. So I remember that was one of the moments that were really, really pivotal for me as I was a 7-year-old kid.
Wow, what a beautiful lesson to give to your child. Your mom indeed has been a wise woman. It's so interesting. Your story took me back to my elementary school days too. And I had such a similar experience myself too at that age. So thank you so much for sharing that, Olga. It made me remember those days too. And you mentioned your autobiography, Saint Behind Enemy Lines. Could you share the significance of the title of this book and the inspiration behind writing the book with us?
Yes, I think I would probably start, a little bit what was just kind of the background like growing up in a communist Czechoslovakia and how that impacted me, who I am today, and how it just kind of came to creation of the book, The Saint Behind Enemy Lines, which is basically my autobiography. I would start basically with that definitely the soil, I was planted, on this planet Earth was really pivotal and in the beginning of who I have become, today. Being, born in a communist Czechoslovakia was in some way as neutral a fact of my life as it could be. And I started off, I would say, as a happy kid who just had awesome, dedicated and loving parents. And that is a beautiful heavenly gift. One awesome thing that I feel that I was endowed, on this earth was that I had so much of abundance of energy. And those who know me, they can tell till today, because of that, I really loved being in a number of sports as a kid, such as athletics and field track or swimming and fencing. And in many ways, and sports were a shield, and a protection not to get distracted by but rather just kind of, really learning, about how to set goals, how to persevere, learning about failure and about winning. And those were all seeds planted into who I was becoming as a kid. And then especially when I had to be created in the communist system as a high school graduate who struggled to get into college, not because of poor grades, but rather because of the stamp that none in my family belonged to a communist country. So I succeeded and got into college with a year delay, but I did. And I think this is where the pivotal, turn in my life began, because the most pivotal moment to who I really started becoming as a young freshman in a university was meeting an extraordinary Czech mentor whose name was Otakar Vojkůvka. I would call him the ultimate champion of optimism and possibility into others. This man was light. He was a yogi and he was also a disciple of Jesus Christ. And he made the most impact in my life. He was at that point 70 years old when I met him. And prior just to meeting him, I have never met someone who just radiated so much of light and joy. Because, Ipek, when you were growing up in communist country, people were actually trying to cover their happiness or their joy, because if you showed that you were happy, the communists would really be very suspicious. what is it just behind, this face and behind this person that he or she are so happy? And so for me, seeing this man who opened his door into his home and seeing just the light and joy that was radiating for me, it was just something incredible. Being in his presence was a complete delight just to my soul and to my being. And he also spoke in such a way that I felt like, like a queen. And for the first time in my life, I also truly believed that anything is possible for me. So that was someone who first, spoke just kind of this possibility, into me. And he started to work with me in creating my birth horoscope. And when he saw my birth horoscope, he just said, one amazing thing about you, Olga, is that he quoted it in his way. Outside you are a child. Inwardly, a giant. For your is and will be the kingdom of heaven. And I was like, wow, what is that, But I never forget that. And I wrote that phrase down, of course, in the Czech language. But that was really remarkable what he was able just kind of to see in me. So he spoke to me about possibilities that I would not even, really think that they would exist for me to dream about. Such as, he said that, I will have opportunities to serve powerfully, not only in my native Czechoslovakia, where I came from, but my voice will cross the borders of my country into the world. Little I know that one day I will be sitting with you, Ipak, in the beautiful state of Maryland, USA, speaking English and loving every second of it. And I think that this was something that really defined just, my first 2 decades of my life, meeting this man who was such an incredible yogi and also such an incredible disciple of Jesus Christ. And I had a privilege to sit next to him in all his creations. And at that time, coaching was something that was not even known as a word in Czech language. And yet, when I look back in my 19 years old age, sitting next to this man and seeing him, how he worked with people, how he mentored people, how he spoke possibility into people, was something so incredible that really, truly changed me and impacted my life, because I saw him, who he was, how he was doing it, and what kind of impact he had, in his life, in the lives of other people. So that was really, really remarkable. And one of the very important parts of my story is that this man was also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I think that I'm mentioning this because also Amy and Steve Hardison, they are member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I think this was, and maybe we will just expand on that, how that impacted me when I was reading the book of The Ultimate Coach. But what happened was, as I truly find my faith in God, in the universe, I really felt that my life just took completely on a new journey. And I was just so blessed, to be invited to the United States and to really share, my story, who I was, how I became a member of the church, because the church was not existing publicly, because it was communism and none of the churches could really breathe openly. And this church was originated in the United States. So that was, like a red flag right away, right there. And so having then just, it would be another story we could spend, on, but, I was so blessed to come here to the United States. And as I was sharing, the story of my life and who I have become, I got this offer from the Deseret Book, in Salt Lake City in Utah, from the publisher, to just simply try to write a few chapters and see if that would be just anything that, the publisher would be interested in. And sure enough, the book was born. I really was not the one who gave it a title, but I know that the title, The Saint Behind Enemy Lines, it's really just, rather unique for a lot of people. And so just the explanation, I would explaining in the context of being a member of the church, because we are called as latter-day saints, right? And so the book is Saint Behind Enemy Lines, meaning a member of the church who was living, in the enemy territory. So that's where the title, comes from. So.
Yes. I mean, when I listened to this story that you told us, it makes so much sense, of course. Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. Wow. What an experience, and how fortunate you were to get connected with that amazing human being. And like it was as if a door opened for you and you just stepped in and just continued your journey.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I want to ask about your work. I know you are passionate about helping men rediscover their purpose and leave legacies. So what sparked your focus on this specific group, on men? And how do you approach transformation in your coaching practice with them?
Thank you so much. It's such a beautiful, beautiful question, Ivek. I would start with this. And that, as I started my coaching journey, I had some vision how I would like to proceed. And as I was starting noticing who was coming my way, I realized that was mostly men. It doesn't mean that I do not coach women, I do. But I started seeing a pattern that it was men who were coming, my way. And I could just, see the impact, the change, and the safe container also that I was capable to create for this man. And so I started looking into it and also started looking who are these people. And being someone also who is in the third act of my life, meaning just kind of, in the part of the life when you become empty nester, when you have a lot of different accomplishments, yet you want to maybe change a course of your life because all what you have been doing might have satisfied you to some point, or many of these men and women, who I coach, they feel like they are at crossroads, that they are happy what they have accomplished, yet they feel that there is something that is just a blind spot for them. And so really honestly, just, my coaching, don't make it anything just, difficult to explain, is really being as curious as I can be, asking the questions to really find where that blind spot is, that it doesn't allow them to create a transformation in their lives. And so in everyone, it can be just in so many different ways. It can be in their relationship with themselves, with just, their spouses, or just, the way how they launch, their career, and thinking that they have to just, please what their parents would like them to become, and all these things, right? Just it's a common thing that I think every coach just, encounters. And yet I just really feel that just speaking from my experience, who I am, that, and the experiences I have had in my life and different challenges that I had to overcome, I think it's just very appealing to men. They see somebody, because always when I speak, when I coach, I also, speak about my experiences. And I think that just speaking, my own story, speaking my own experience has been a powerful tool in addition to all coaching, knowledge and skills that I have had. It is really how I present myself and how I share myself, with these beautiful clients, that creates a sense of complete safety and vulnerability for them to open up and share something that they would not share with anybody else. And then coming then from that place of vulnerability and hearing them really speak maybe for the first time what they have been thinking for so many years and they have in their head, and suddenly they place it on a plate and table and realize it is okay. It is okay to speak that out. And just working, from that place and helping them to make a peace, with the past and really embark on a journey to create absolutely an incredible legacy for themselves, for their families, and for the world.
Yes, it's a beautiful reflection on how you became to be a coach, like mostly working with men. And it resonates so much with me because, Olga, I announced myself as a coach who mostly works with women. But it's so interesting that more than 60% of my clients are men. And I feel like that is not a surprise, actually, because I see men as having difficulty in opening themselves up to their loved ones, especially feeling like if they show their vulnerabilities, maybe they will lose something, some kind of respect, some kind of the way people look at them. I don't know what it is, but for them, I see like it's much more easier to open up, to be vulnerable, to be authentic with someone they are not really connected with, but also with a woman who can guide them in a way how to be themselves 100%. So I see that happening in my practice too, and I understand where you're coming from very well. Thank you for sharing that.
If I may, it's really interesting because, the world really has been changing rapidly. And what I hear as a sentiment a little bit, and sometimes it's not really articulated the way I will speak about it, but what I'm hearing and sensing working with men, and most of these men are really just, in the corporate world. I am seeing something that, I don't have a place to go to be with my buddies. In the past, maybe 30, 45, 50 years ago, the men would have clubs, they would have places to go. I don't think that exists anymore. There is something else that is just kind of, brewing in a different ways for them. Yet, I really feel that they just don't have the space where they can be who they truly are. I think that it is wonderful, then to see someone who comes into my space, either in person or on a Zoom, and they really feel that they are heard. They are feeling that they can connect. They are feeling just, that they can express something that just they don't have any other space to talk about it. So I think that is just kind of what is, really interesting to me to see that, that men, just like we women, we need, our communities. We know and it's a little bit easier for us to create it. Connection for women is just something that is just comes naturally to me. And I think that men, they need something similar, to that extent, on that masculine level. And I think that it's just kind of sometimes really challenging for men, to find it. Because in many ways, you can find it, but it's not probably in the ways that can be actually positive or helpful to you. It can be just kind of, with the alcohol or other substances that you might find that just kind of, relief. And yet I know that smart men, they are looking for, different ways to develop themselves and to understand themselves, in a different ways. And so it's beautiful that a lot of men see just a great value into having a mentor, having someone who can hold a safe space for them.
Yes, absolutely. And there is one other thing that I wanted to share that came to my mind. In general, when I'm working with women, for example, if I do a group coaching, women are so much more open to that kind of coaching. Whereas with men, I don't do that. I don't like to do that. I like to do it one-on-one because when it's one-on-one, men especially, find the space to be themselves, to open up. But in a group setting, I see that it is not that easy for men to be really vulnerable in front of other people. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if you notice that kind of approach.
Yeah, I think it also, if I have someone who has been exposed to coaching for some time, I can see that it's easier, to create that space. Like I just, I was just hosting a retreat, and I did have some men who have coached, with me previously. And so when they do have that experience, it's easy, but totally right on, it's rather exception for a man who really just is new to this work to be in the group and start sharing things. So, yes.
Thank you. This was a really good part of our conversation, Olga. Now I want to ask you about your unique philosophy around the concept of being. You have that, and can you a little bit elaborate on what that means to you and how it plays a role in your coaching?
Right. I think that I would start with the words of Steve Hardison, and that is that the being is the state of doing, and doing is the fruit of, our being. And I think that when I have heard first, that phrase, I know how deeply, deeply, deeply impacted this just simple quote, was to me. I want to let you know that, up till the point when I really got in my hands the book of the Ultimate Coach, the book of being, I was someone who was always interested in personal development, in a spiritual, just kind of, growth, goal setting, really creating a great business. And as I, looked back, I have seen how much I was thinking and understanding that my doing is the seed of my being, okay? And it works, to some extent, because the doing is a very important part of it. Yet, to me, understand that, it always first comes to answer the question, okay, Olga, okay, you just kind of, want to be just kind of great mom. You have to have a great business. You want to be a great parent, okay? So what do you do? So I would be always thinking, so what are the things that I need to do better? What are the things I need to do improve? So looking really at the things that I was lacking. And when I came to the book of being, and I realized that it's flipping it the upside down and actually asking the question, well, who do I need to be a great wife to my beloved husband, Randy? And I really haven't asked that question. Maybe I have asked it in the past in some form and shape, but the way it struck me while, reading the book and being around people in our being movement, I have realized how essential it was for me to make a peace with myself first. Because I realized that, if I ask this question, who do I need to be a great wife to my husband, Randy, I would be seeing all the things that I'm not doing right, and just really creating the peace of who I am, with all the imperfections that are in me, and yet being able to just kind of, daily create myself from a clean slate that I am one with my beloved, friend and husband, Randy, and I love him unconditionally. And so for me, the whole concept of being, it's very practical. It's just wherever I am going, I catch myself thinking or doing something, and I'm asking myself, so am I someone now who I really like to be? Am I really Olga? Am I really a true essence, of who I am? And And it just can go with driving, walking, running, and passing just kind of other runners by, or being in a grocery store, or giving a lecture for 1,000 people, or just, being with someone who is a little bit challenging. It's just like that. What is so beautiful that you can always just kind of that inquiry in you, just being present to who am I right now at this moment? And can I just kind of be my really true essence? What is it? How can I step into it? And the stepping into it is the beautiful process of, self-forgiveness that I love so much, that I notice. And I realize that it just kind of comes from this mind. I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am not my thoughts. And that I can create myself truly from who I am, a being down deep in soul. God's perfect creation, always worthy of his love. No need to just kind of prove myself to anybody else. And so for me, honestly, Ipek, it comes just, I feel like I've been awakening just kind of to that, especially having vivid session with Steve this last August. It was just so clear to me when I left that office to realize that, I have an opportunity to create myself every second of my breathing and who I am on this earth. And it's just so beautiful to know that possibility to change, to elevate, myself is just right there. It's just one breath away from me. And I just love that.
I so love this too. And yes, I mean, we have the opportunity to, every time we catch ourselves, as you said, I catch and stop. That's a possibility and opportunity to recreate ourselves. Who would I want to be in this situation? And put on that outfit and be that person. And a good thing you mentioned your Be With session with Steve, because my next question is obviously about that, because I'm very curious about it. Could you please walk us through what that experience was like and how it has impacted you?
Yes. When I got the book of The Ultimate Coach in my hands, and it was really through Jamie Harris, who is Steve's sister, and she lives in the same town as I do here in Maryland. And I know when she gave me the book, and when I started reading the book, the next week when I saw Jamie, I just told him, Jamie, I know that I will have a session with Steve one day. And when I spoke it, I was actually kind of in awe of myself and surprised that I have said that. But I really, when I said that, I just created it at that moment. And that was exactly about 1.5 years ago. And so I had a lot of wonderful conversations with Steve and also with Emmy, as many of us who really get into the Facebook Ultimate Coach group. We, all of us, if we really are open to it, Steve is going to be so willing to speak to you, to talk to you, to cheer you on. And so I know when I saw Steve last January in Arizona for the Ultimate Coach experience that we have 2024, I had a chance to speak with him, and I just told him about the desire that I would love to do that. And I just said, is there a possibility to create that? And as we spoke, he just said, oh, I cannot wait to have you in the office. You are like a clay. We will create something really amazing. And so, yeah, I had created it for myself, and was able to be in his office last August. And I think it was beyond any imagination I could have about that. I think it would, if I kind of can go shortly, because, I just said I can write a whole book, on being 2 hours, with this man. For me, Ipek, just knowing where I was coming from, all the way, just being born in a little, almost village in Czechoslovakia, I just kind of would never ever dream that I would be sitting, with someone like Steve Hardison in the office one day. And I remember when I was, pulling my car, at his house, I saw the Czech flag. There was American flag, and right below that was the Czech flag. And Ipek, when I saw it, I just cannot describe what was, taking place in my soul. It was just something so beautiful. Not just kind of, I have never been someone who just is completely attached to the place where I come from, but just that flag represented absolutely everything. That flag represented me standing on the shoulders of my parents, of my grandparents, and of many generations just kind of, before me, who might have struggled with so many different things that I don't even know what they were. And here I was, someone who is living presently on this beautiful planet Earth. And I felt like I was standing on the shoulders of the giants, all those who have come before me. And the same way I have felt what an impact, my life has and will have on the generations to come. That's what that flag represented at that just very moment to me. It was just so, so beautiful. The other thing that I would share among many things to succinct, the experience, Ipek, was that when I walked in the office, I will a little bit continue on the similar theme of my origin. I walked in his office, and his office is just really just beautiful masterpiece, and you step in it and you really feel that you are stepping in a sacred place. Meaning, that in this place, some really incredible creations have taken place and will take place. Beautiful art pieces, and as I understand, Steve changes it according to the client that he has. He changes the art pieces that might be more relevant, to the client that he is with. And when I walked into his office, just behind his chair, there was this long, rectangular, beautiful, beautiful photography of Night Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic. And when I saw that, I was looking at it, and first I was like, this must be the capital of my country, and sure enough, I asked him, and he just says, yes, that's Prague, he was like, I love Prague, and I remember I just sat on a sofa there. I was just weeping in tears, just to, again, come just to really my essence of who I am, who I always have been, so beautifully, deeply inside. And the only few words that I uttered, at that moment was, I am in awe, AWE. And just says, I am in awe of my life. I am in awe who I am. And honestly, at that point, if I would have to leave the office, if there was an earthquake or whatever happened, I really felt that there was some sort of completion at the moment that is beyond the words. And I will never, ever, forget about that moment, because it spoke deeply to me who I am, who I always have been, and where I come from. And so that was just, really very, very, truly beautiful moment. What I would say, that I really deeply admire about Steve Hardison is not only, his faith, but how he exemplifies it through his life. And I saw it in the office. From the book, we know that he was serving a full-time mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in England from the time when he was a young man to just kind of the recent reflections in the home stretch, which is basically Christ-centered declaration, every single one of them. So, Steve, he consistently demonstrates a profound commitment to creating himself daily as a disciple of Jesus Christ. That's who he is to me. His life stands as statement to just one biblical just kind of verse that it's in a New Testament in Matthew in chapter 5, and that is, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. And having the privilege to meet Steve in his office and Amy afterwards, I am just continually just kind of, inspired by just kind of the way they embody this truth, creating themselves anew every single day, striving toward unconditional love and serving humanity from just the space of complete purity. And I felt that in the office. And it's very, refreshing. It's encouraging and awe-inspiring to witness a couple just like an Amy and Steve, and see them, fully embracing and living just kind of, this principle. So I hold an immense respect and admiration and really love, for the way Steve and Amy show up in the world, the way they have created their marriage, because I think that to me, always, when I meet someone, I always look what type of a relationship they are capable to create with their loved ones and in their families. And so being in that office and being with someone who loves so boldly, he has to me, has a very strong foundation on, of course, who he is. And he crosses the borders of any philosophy, any religion, any thought. And it's just so beautiful to see this man to be able to love so boldly and unconditionally that it doesn't matter who walks in the office, what the background, what the story. This man just kind of has a capability to just speak, into every single soul, a possibility that that person just kind of, would probably never, ever even thought about. And so to me, that, coming out of that office, I have been still processing, what really has taken place there, because I see how much it has impacted just, I feel like I am really in peace, that I don't have a need to prove myself to anybody. I feel I am singing my own song. I don't have to sing anybody else's song. I am not worried if somebody doesn't like the song that I'm singing, because I know I'm here to sing the song, and there are simply people who love to hear the song. Just like there are people who love to, hear Steve's song, your song. And my only just kind of, desire going out of this office is just to keep singing my song and keep just kind of creating from that song so that people can hear the story that is in the song, the melody, the beauty, the beginning, the story that it's there and where it's just, unfolding. It's almost like I gave myself really permission walking out of that office to simply, be who I am and be completely content with that.
Wow, this is poetic, Olga. Really, it gives me goosebumps. Thank you for sharing this really intimate and really powerful, but also precious memory. And I told you that before, as you know. You said I could write a book about this, and I challenged you to make that happen, create that book. And I know that that book will come alive.
Yes, and thank you so much, because one thing that happened as a seed of that project was what really happened within 24 hours after the session. I was in a bed, and I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I just pulled out my journal, and I started writing and writing and writing and writing. And one thing that just, came out of that creation as the seed of my next work and expression, what really just was taking in, place in the office and where I'm heading was, I created what I call a divine agreement with my mind. And if you want to, I can share it, with you and with the listeners, because it really was something that came as a pure creation of being with this man of light, and just being in the space of someone who has such a level of unconditional love. It really does something to every single cell in your soul. And just think about it, that we, all of us, have that capability, and a capacity to just kind of, step in that possibility to be, we, all of us are creating be with people around us. And that was another thing that, came out to me, any single time. Right now, we are be with Ipek and Olga. We are creating, right? And so we, all of us, have that possibility be with, meaning being the unconditional love and possibility to others. Anytime that we just kind of step in any place, regardless of the background of the people or circumstances we might have walked in, for me, be with means being unconditional love and being present to that and speak it, feel it, express it. But, one of the things, really that, it was just so profound was that I just created this just really agreement with my mind going forward, because I know that most of the drama that at least I have really comes from just kind of here, from just kind of this brain, right? So I can share it here, or we can share it some another time, whatever, just kind of we would like to.
Please do share with us.
Yeah, so it has 12 points, just short ones. It's kind of like a little statements, and it's basically start with this. A divine agreement with my mind, my beautiful, wondrous mind. I cherish, admire, and acknowledge you as the extraordinary vessel through which I have created an absolutely brilliant and remarkable life, thanks to your magnificent work and service. 2, today I come to you with a sacred contract and a divine gift for both of us, one that elevates our creations to new heights, making you feel lighter and more expansive, while empowering me to serve the world with unshakable courage and fierce love. 3, dear mind, this is who I am. I live and serve grounded in a noble, virtuous, compassionate, pure, and loving thoughts. This is who I am. And so here is our sacred contract. Any thought that falls short of unconditional love, whether toward myself, others, or God, will pass through a divine portal, a healing gift. And in this space, it will be transformed, released, and purified. 5, when the venom of judgment tempts me to react with less than love, I choose to cultivate the sacred gift of love born from this healing portal, and this profound gift is called self-forgiveness. 6, if there is any unhealthy thought, who is the creator of that thought? Who is responsible for it? I am. I am. I am. 7, with a prayer in my heart, I say, I forgive myself for judging myself, whether I am or I am not, for any unhelpful thoughts my mind may offer. When an unhealthy thought appears, I remind myself of this truth that I am the captain of my thoughts, the architect of my mind, and therefore I take full responsibility. 8, I repeat this sacred forgiveness mantra as many times as needed, with trust in the creator of the universe and all the power and sincerity of my heart. Each time I invoke the purifying waterfall of the self-forgiveness, the truth of who I am is revealed and sets me free. 9, furthermore, I hereby erase the thought, I do not know. I erase the thought from my consciousness, for the truth is I always know. Within the depth of my soul, in the quiet stillness of my heart, the answers always reside. I trust in that inner knowing. 10, my radiant and magnificent mind, we are crossing into a vibrant, joyous world where radiance and playfulness dance as one. Together, we co-create love and joy, manifesting the most beautiful expression of life this world has ever seen. And number 11, as your ultimate captain, I pledge to love you, appreciate you, and care for you so that your work remains brilliant, your service impeccable, and your energy ever-flowing. Together, we weave a life filled with miracles. 12, dear minds, I declare to you that I am a mind surgeon and soul orthodontist to all those God sends my way to serve them, love them, uplift them, and illuminate the light of Christ within them, elevating consciousness on this planet Earth. We got this.
Wow. I have tears in my eyes, really, Olga. It's so profound, remarkable. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I'm sure all the listeners of this episode will very much appreciate it. Wow.
That's what happens in Steve's office. It's creation.
Yes, exactly. So oh my God, this was so emotional, so deep. Thank you. So now I want to ask you my signature question. I ask that question everyone. Which one of the questions in the before you begin section of the book or on the back of the book you see is the one you need to focus on at this moment in time? And why would that be?
Yes, it is. Who would I need to be at peace with who I am? Ipek, this is the most important question to me, because no matter who I am creating myself to, if it's my husband, if it's my two beautiful sons, my beautiful grandson Liam, or if it's my neighbor, any brother or sister, people in my community, I just love to ask myself that question because, I know that if I'm creating myself from the place of being peace, I know that I always create something that is remarkable, because more than anything else, just looking in the context where I am in my life, where we are currently as a country and a world, this is something that is very, very dear to my soul. I am that peace. I am a creator of peace. And therefore, I pray for people who I might not like as a future possibilities to be, presidents of, the United States. I pray for each of them, because I know that ultimately each of them is a child of God. Each of them is a child of God. And I know that God prevails. He always does.
Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to ask you the 3 rapid-fire questions I have for you. I prepared for you. The first one, if you could master one skill instantly, what would it be?
Oh, this is a good one. I would like to master the skill of photography. Oh. My grandpa was incredibly talented in this area. It was his hobby, and he even won some international just kind of, prizes for his work as just kind of, a photographic artist. So I feel that talent, Ipek, is within me as well, but I have only explored it organically and never really pursued it, seriously. So that would be something. But also another area of interest for me is painting, something I experimented with a lot of as a young person, and it's skill I could see myself cultivating over the next 35 years of my life.
Beautiful. And the second question, what is your go-to way to unwind after a long day?
So given my, deep connection with nature, my go-to way always to unwind after a long way is a peaceful walk. It's like moving meditation where I can reflect, breathe deeply, and connect it with myself and the world around me. And I also absolutely love spending time in the sauna, the steam room, and taking a cold dip. It's the perfect way to rejuvenate both my body and mind. When I step in a steam room and then I go to cold dip, it feels heavenly.
Yes, I would agree with that, definitely. The third one, if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
You know, if I could wave a magic wand, I would love to spend a day, even an hour, with my parents who passed, into eternity. Just to sit with them, feel their love, and receive a hug would be absolutely amazing. I know both of them would pour out their love and acknowledgement toward me. But otherwise, I would love to be anywhere near the sun, waves, the sand, enjoying a delicious chocolate custard and strolling through the streets of any European city. And that would be with my husband and my children. So anywhere in the world would be wonderful. But Paris is definitely a destination I would like to visit very soon.
Okay, let's create that.
Absolutely.
Olga, it has been such an honor and a real pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Your journey from your roots in Czechoslovakia to the transformational work you are doing now, and your experiences with Steve Hardison and his family is incredibly inspiring. For our listeners who want to learn more about your work, obviously we will be sharing your links in the episode notes. But if I ask you what is the best way for them to get in touch with you, what would you say?
Yes, so one of the things is, we mentioned the book, The Saint Behind Enemy Lines. So if you are really looking for my name and you go on Amazon, Olga Campora, you will find the title there, and it's available in Audible as well as just kind of written version. If you are really interested to learn more in depth, what it's like, to come from some challenging, circumstances, and yet you can create just absolutely epic life. So that's one of the resources. The other one is my website, www.olgacampora.com. So those would be two resources. And being in the Ultimate Coach Facebook group, this is the place that I would love to meet as many of you as I can, because I usually have at least 2 conversations per week. And it's absolutely amazing to meet people who are part of our community. It's just absolutely mind-blowing, soul-elevating, just kind of, and brings me so much of joy. So I would say, ultimately, let's just connect within the Ultimate Coach book group on a Facebook.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Olga, for sharing your time, your wisdom, and heart with us today. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Remember to embrace the power of being and keep striving for greatness. Until next time, stay connected and stay inspired.
Thank you for joining us today. If there's someone you know who could benefit from this conversation, please share this episode with them. Also, check out our website, beingmovement.com. You'll find valuable resources and links to connect to an engaging and wonderfully supportive community. Together, we can inspire and support each other on the path to a greater understanding of being. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.